The biggest mistake people make when they start to learn something is they think that there's a matter of you going, I didn't know it, now I got taught it, now I know it. And that it's some sort of like a light switch on and off. That now you've been taught it, you should just know it. And that's not how learning works. Learning has never worked like that. It didn't work like that through school. And one of the biggest problems is that people end up sort of having this identity of I'm a slow learner or something along those lines. Now, after working with 10,000 people in a gym setting, and really it's, for the majority of those people, it's actually an educational setting. Our goal isn't to just teach people the right technique. That's not what I do or what I've done over the last period of my career. What it is about teaching people how to learn, teaching people how to develop what we refer to as kinesthetic intelligence. Especially when you lean, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be kinesthetic intelligence. It can be anything that you learn, any skill, anything. Doesn't matter what it is, from coding to mechanics to nursing, doesn't matter. It's the same principles that we're going to follow. But if you follow Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence theory, we start seeing intelligence as something that's far more dynamic than just IQ and academia. And that's the approach that I've taken to training. That's the approach I've taken to coaching and fitness. And it has been an absolute catalyst, game changer in seeing people's growth and development over a period of time rather than trying to get fast results. And always associating fast results with like a get-rich-quick scheme or like a microwave meal. Really what I'm interested in doing is helping people become a chef, not just cook standard microwave meals. We want to be able to be our own personal chef, not just talking about food here, obviously. Hopefully you're following along as the analogy grows. I'm talking about being able to own something long term rather than just achieve it quickly. So when we see learning as a process, and I'm going to describe that process to you in a moment, we start to see that there's a particular predictable framework that we need to follow. And there's two key frameworks. There's more than that, but there's two key frameworks that I want to teach you today. One's called the Conscious Competence Scale. The other is the 4 stages of learning. And I'm going to show you how they map over each other as well. So when we look at learning something, we look at moving from not knowing anything about it to embodying it. Now, we don't have to do that with every single thing, but anything we seek to gain mastery in, we want to be able to move to this mastery embodiment component. Now, one of the biggest, most useful, I guess, quotes that I remember hearing from one of my mentors, one of my coaches, was, and it was in reference to coaching and in developmental coaching, and he said, you get to a point where you don't coach, coaching happens around you. Now, I want to give you a quick example of that. And I'm assuming maybe if you watch this, you might be familiar with David Goggins. If you're not familiar with David Goggins, just jump on YouTube's quickly and check out Goggins so you can be on the same page as me. But let's say you join a running club, and that running club meets every Friday, and you've done it for a few weeks and you've enjoyed it, you're a bit tired, you hit your run, so be it. And then one morning, 5:30 in the morning, you rock up and David Goggins is there and he's running with your run club. He doesn't say a word. Are you running any different? You see, he's the embodiment of, well, to be Goggined, he's the embodiment of Goggins. There's this energy, this persona, this aura that is followed with him because of him and because of what he embodies, that if he was to go to that run club, people are going to run different. They're going to find some different gear that particular day. And so that's what I mean by an embodiment. Not just knowing how to run, not just knowing about it, not just sort of relating with it, but a complete embodiment. And when you go through and learn something to that stage, it just happens around you as opposed to you having to force it or you having to try and continually learn. I mean, you move past the trying. You outgrow trying for sure. So let's talk through these two key frameworks. One's called the Conscious Competence Scale. And what you've got here is, to begin with, is unconscious incompetence. So your unconscious incompetence is talking to the fact that you don't know what you're not good at. And that's the same for me. It's the same for the next person. It's the first step of the rung is that you don't know what you're not good at. The example I can give you is actually driving. There's so many examples, but driving. If you remember back to when you were first learning to drive and you're sitting in the back seat watching your parents drive and you're like, it can't be that hard, surely. Like you're watching them, it's pretty easy. And then you get to jump in front, you jump in the driver's seat and you're like, holy shit, and there's so many things to focus on, and you move to conscious incompetence. You are now aware just how bad you are at this particular thing. And that's okay. That's the first stage. In fact, that is the most crucial stage. A lot of people don't move from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. They never move to in the arena. They just sit back and spectate. So if you're in this conscious incompetence stage, it's a really important stage. It's the first friction stage. And so in that stage is where so much learning is, and uncomfortableness is, and awkwardness and embarrassment and all of that sort of stuff. So your conscious incompetence is a very important stage. If you pursue with it, you move into conscious competence. You're now really, really good at what you do, or you're at least good at it, you're competent at it, but you've got to really focus on it. And looking back at the driving example, it's kind of like you're at a point now where you can drive. Maybe you're on your provisional license or whatever they have it in your country. And the thing is that you just have to focus. Music can't be too loud maybe, or they can't have too many people in the car, or whatever it is in that, or whatever it is for you. It's just looking at that and going, okay, I can competently do this. I just have to make sure I'm conscious and aware of it. And then there is another stage called unconscious competence. Now in unconscious competence, we start to move through this stage of you actually don't know how to explain how you do what you do well. It's so wired and dialed into you. It's in your neurology that you just do it. I've seen this with coaches. In fact, coaches that pick up movement and training really, really easily actually struggle to coach people that picked it up really, really hard. And it's because they're just like, you get upside down and you just do this. I literally had coaches where they picked it up really easy, and then they struggle to teach it to people that didn't learn the way they learned. So your unconscious competence is also where we see people like athletes and people that have probably mastered something that they're really, really good at. Now, this is where if you've ever driven and you've sort of just arrived somewhere, now outside of any form of illicit drugs or alcohol or anything, you've just kind of arrived and you're like, I don't even remember driving here. But you put the blinker on, you check the mirrors, you turn the corners, you did all that sort of stuff, you stopped at the stop sign, you did everything. It's almost like you were unconsciously competent at it, basically. Now, obviously there's other factors to that, but bear with me to the example of you're just able to drive. And so with this, there actually is another level up here that a lot of people don't teach, and that's conscious unconscious competence. Now, this is actually where teaching is, that you're starting to bring conscious awareness to what you do unconsciously well. And so the best coaches and teachers have this skill. They go past unconscious competence to start going, okay, how do I actually do this well? Let me break this down. And that's teaching. And to teach is to learn twice. So these are the steps, these are the stages to move from unconsciously incompetent to basically unconsciously competent. And the belly of the learning happens in this area here, which is really, really important. It takes time and it takes conscious repetition, not just reps for reps' sake. Conscious repetition, feedback, wanting to improve, not personalizing the feedback. It's that component here. So this belly here, these steps are the most important steps. Now, what's really important as well is there's 4 stages to this learning, right? There is know of, know about, relate with, and then embody. And these are the 4 stages of learning. And they line up with these stages here. And so your unconscious incompetence, you might know of something. You might know about the driving. You might know about a particular type of training. You might know about a particular type of subject. The thing is that you can't really speak to it, but you know of it. You've heard of it. You're familiar with it to a degree. You're just not familiar with actually interacting with it. So you know of it. Once you start to move in consciously incompetent, you start to know about it. And that's where you start to really learn about it. You start to get intimate with it, start to get understanding of what's hard, what's not hard, what parts were easier, what parts were more challenging, what you didn't know about it, all of that. So you start to really know about it. As you move to consciously competence, you start to relate with it. And you can start to see the nuance of it. You start to see the complexity of it. You start to see how there is contextual adaptations required based on whatever it is that you're learning, whether it be training or whether it be coding or whether it be doesn't matter. You insert subject there. Engineering, regardless of what the subject is, there is always going to be these nuance. You start to really relate with it. But when you build unconscious competence, you start to embody it. It starts to be a part of your neurological signature. and it becomes an extension of you. It happens around you. And so when we move through stages of learning, it's not learning and teaching a correct technique on the gym floor. It's about developing through these stages, through conscious repetitions. I've had somebody so many times, they're like, I just don't get this. I'm like, oh, how many reps have you done? They're like, that's my third set. I'm like, third set of, they're like, third set of 6. I'm like, okay, so 18 reps. They're like, yeah, I've done 18 reps. And I'm like, okay. How many reps have you done before today? They're like, oh, this is the first time. I'm like, right, okay. Well, you should have like 982 to go before we got a bit of an idea. And they're like, ugh. But I mean, that's what learning is. We're here to learn, not just be taught, because this all fits within the codependent cycles as well. You see, as a coach, or when you are coaching or training, you don't want your clients to be codependent to you. You keep them in this victim, aggressor, rescuer cycle. What you really want to do is help them build dependence, independence, and interdependence. So yes, external feedback from a coach or trainer, and make this relevant for your industry, but a coach or trainer is important. But what's more important, or just as important, I would argue at least, is that they start to build an awareness of like, how do I know that I'm moving well? What tells me on the inside that I'm moving well? So you can actually combine external and internal data or information or feedback, whatever it is you want to call it. So that's really important. But more than anything is that outlining these stages of learning for yourself and your clients or your peers or whoever it is that you're working with is crucial to understand that you have to go through a process. And it's going to be uncomfortable. There's going to be frustrations. There's going to be friction, all of that. It's just remembering that frustration is a precursor for learning. And that's what you're here to do. Team, thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate you. If you want to check out any of my workshops or any of my free resources, they'll be in the links below. Otherwise, that's me done. I'm out. Until next time, peace and pizza. I'll see you soon.